I'm just speechless. Be kind, kids. Oh yes, and these are the things. Notice, these are things, boys. Things look like this. Things are not women. Notice the distinction there. Anyway, these are the things that I'm going to use to transform this face. And the transformation all begins with skincare. I put a lot of stuff on my face before I put even more stuff on my face. Let's go ahead and start talking about the things. Oh, hang on. I don't know if this happens to any of you, but I drank like 5 things of tea this morning and my brain's kind of just running on tea juice right now, where it's like in between haze and like nonsense and like sense. I don't know. So I know that you clicked on this video because you thought you were going to be seeing a transformation from, you know, an image that is supposedly supposed to be not as attractive to an image that is supposedly societally much more attractive. I will also be taking this time to kind of talk about sexuality, V-cards, you know, expectations, women's roles in society, and all of that good stuff, because I think experiences need to be put out there onto the interwebs so that we can all understand each other a little bit better, so that we can be nicer to each other, and all of that good shit. So just hold on to your panties, you know, we'll get there. I'll tie up my hair. I'm gonna start off by doing my makeup, and while I do my makeup I kind of want to talk about sex. I made another video. My previous video was also about like sexual experiences, but that was more kind of like my psychology as I was growing up. My experiences in sex were very minimal. I wasn't allowed to watch Disney princesses kiss at the end of the movie, is how, you know, sheltered I was as a kid. Growing up, I felt a lot of shame about the word sex. Like I felt weird saying even the word sexy. I felt really gross and weird. And so it probably wasn't until high school that I like started talking to people about sex, because in elementary school and in middle school I had absolutely no sex education. Whenever my school offered opportunities to provide sex education, which was, by the way, very awful, not informative at all. Like all they did was kind of like teach boys how to jack off while they left girls in the blue. Yeah, so every time that my school offered like any form of sex education, my parents opted out, and so I didn't really talk to anyone about sex, and so it kind of just was sitting in the back burner of my mind for a long time, up until maybe like high school. And high school is a weird fucking time because everyone has like raging hormones. Yeah, I didn't really talk to anyone about sex until around high school, and it wasn't even like my freshman and sophomore years that I talked to people about sex. More like towards my junior year and my senior year did I discover that people were like having sex. So yeah, let's briefly talk about my high school experience. In high school, my understanding of dating encompassed like activities like holding hands or showing up to club activities together, and maybe like a peck on the cheek. So it was like very innocent. My perception of what dating was in high school, I didn't really date too much in high school. I had like crushes on boys and stuff, but I didn't exactly like date anyone. And so most of my sexual knowledge came from some of my best friends. Even then, it was kind of like a hard topic to bring up and to talk to my friends about, because we all kind of grew up in families or in situations where we felt sexually restrained. I remember like a couple of times maybe some of my friends would tell me that they lost their V cards, but they never would like explain to me like the whole situation. And so I was kind of like in the dark about a lot of things. I had like a lot of questions because I was like, well, what happens? Do you just make out and then you have sex, or is there a situation, or are there like certain social cues that would hint that you're about to engage in sexual activity, or are there certain cue words and things of that sort? Yeah, throughout most of high school I was in the dark about it, and so I never really talked to anyone about sex. My parents played a very big role in my sexual understanding, development, and all of that stuff. Anything that was sex related was a no-go, so I wasn't even allowed to have a boyfriend or have a crush on anyone, and so I never really talked to my parents about this stuff. I remember one experience that kind of like solidified my beliefs about like I could never talk to my parents about sex or about my personal life. This experience like really solidified that. I remember I came home from like school one day, and my mom, like, she was like, I need to talk to you right now. Whenever she took me aside, I was like, yeah, what's up? She was like, you have a boyfriend. And I was like,
I'm extremely confused. You're confused? I'm fucking confused, bro.
Me too. Like, what the fuck? This is fucking news to me. Like, and the first thing that went through my mind was like my mom just fucking set me up to like a guy that I didn't even know, because I didn't date in high school. And so out of the blue, I come home and my mother tells me that I have a boyfriend, which is fucking news to me. I was like, no, I don't have a boyfriend. And she was like, don't lie to me. And so, you know, without really letting me explain and without really believing me anyway, I think she already had it set in her mind that I was dating, and dating was like a no-go, because dating leads to sex and sex leads to unwanted pregnancies. Yeah, it was already like stamped into her brain that I was not allowed to date. And so yeah, she ended up grounding me, which is also fucking weird, because all I did in high school was go to school, go to swim practice, go home, do my homework, and on the weekends I volunteer my time at the food bank. So I don't know what exactly I was being grounded for and what exactly I was being grounded from, but I was grounded. And ever since that experience, that kind of like made it clear to me that I was not allowed to sort of explore this realm that is sex and things of that sort. I wasn't allowed to experience like pleasure, and in the case that I do experience pleasure, it is very shameful. I think I kind of went through like a fucking dark time in my life, because it seemed to me like everyone was experiencing things very freely, but I wasn't allowed to partake in it. And so I finished my high school without ever really having dated anyone and without really experiencing any like sexual experiences. College was when I got a car. I still lived with my parents, and so there were still certain restrictions around my life, but college, I think, signified to my parents that I was like a grown adult, and I was paying my own bills at the time. I was paying for like a portion of the house, like mortgage or whatever, every month, and I was working and I was going to school. And so I spent a lot of time outside of the house. I guess that sort of freed up my time and also gave me the ability to kind of explore relationships and sex and my own personal understanding of my sexuality. And so I downloaded a bunch of dating apps and I started to go out on dates. And I learned really quickly that dating isn't as fun as it seems in the movies. And up until this point, I hadn't had too much sexual experience. And so every single date that I went on, I kind of walked into the date with this expectation, like, I'm finally gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my V card. There was like a whirlwind of emotions that came along with the desire to lose my V card. Number one, I wanted to lose it because everyone was doing it. And so I felt like if I didn't lose it soon, I would be like dead without ever having experienced sex. Number two, I thought, you know, if masturbating felt this great, then it must feel exponentially greater with another human being. And point number three, I just wanted to defy everything that my family had ever told me. At the time, I felt like I did my part as a dutiful migrant child, and I'm going to enjoy myself now. I'm going to live my life the way that I want to live my life. And so I walked into every single one of those dates thinking, like, tonight I'm going to lose my V card. I felt a lot of pressure while I was dating, especially in the earlier stages of dating. I was experiencing a lot of internal conflict because part of me was like, I want to get rid of this thing. But on the other hand, everything that I was taught, everything that I was told leading up to this point tells me to not lose my V card right now, because there was something just dirty and shameful about losing my V card. I don't know. I just felt like if I lose my V card now, I was using up like an allotted finite amount of sexual experiences that I am allowed in my lifetime. And so part of that can probably explain why I didn't really enjoy a lot of my first dates and why they didn't really work out, because I was focused on just one thing. Now, on the topic of actually losing my V card, there were several instances when I thought I was for sure going to lose my V card, but ended up not losing my V card. And this brings up the topic of vaginismus. And so vaginismus is a disorder where one feels extreme pain with penetration through the vagina. And I had that, but at the time I didn't know that I had that. The only instance in my life before college where I kind of figured that I had vaginismus or something like that, of course at the time I didn't know the term or the name for it, what I was experiencing, but I knew I was experiencing something, was in high school whenever I used a tampon for the first time. And for every single one of those times when I thought I was going to lose my V card, a lot of those instances I didn't actually lose my V card because I had vaginismus. And so what happens is whenever something tries to penetrate the vagina, is that your vagina will contract to try to prevent anything from entering. And so that's what my vagina did. Every time that I tried to engage in sexual activity, a lot of the times they couldn't get it in. And so we would just call it a night. I quickly came to the conclusion that like, I just don't like sex. But there was kind of a disconnect there, because in my mind, I loved sexual fantasy. I loved foreplay. I liked masturbation. It felt great. But I couldn't really get myself to understand why I couldn't have penetrative sex. So that was like one of the aspects for a lot of the dates where I thought I was going to lose my V card and I didn't. The actual instance when I lost my V card, let me tell you, it was painful. Let me kind of just give you some context. And so I go on a couple of dates with this guy. I've seen this guy probably like 2 or 3 dates before we actually try to have sex. What made this time a little bit different than all the other previous attempts at losing my V card was that we took the time to, you know, go on a couple of dates before actually trying to have sex. This time we took it kind of slow, went on a couple of dates, and so I guess I felt a lot more safety around this person. We were able to kind of talk about things. However, if you're watching this and have great expectations for your first time, don't. Your first time is probably going to be awkward, clumsy, silly. You're figuring out a lot of things. As with most things, with practice, you'll get much better. That's not to say that practice makes perfect though, because if you practice the wrong thing, then you're not, you know, then you're not going to get better. But practice does make permanent. And so if you practice good consensual sex, then eventually you'll permanently have great sex. Yeah, I lose my V card. I slept over. The next day I come home and my parents fucking freak. And they were like, where did you go? Why did you sleep over at your, who were you with? Because, you know, this whole time that I was doing the whole online dating shit, my parents didn't know. I just told them that I was hanging out with friends or whatever. Yeah, so my parents didn't know. And so, yeah, I come home, they freak out, obviously, because their daughter had been missing for like 24 hours or whatever. That's number one. Number two, they see like this giant purple thing right here. So I got a hickey. Number three, I am like, my hair is all messed up. I like slept in some of my makeup because I couldn't wash all of it off or whatever. And my parents had never seen me in that state before because my entire life I've been this like primped, proper, very dutiful, obedient migrant child. And so my parents give me a long ass lecture. I, at that point, had about had it because I didn't want to hear it because I'm an adult, I'm a consenting adult. And so to kind of just get them off of my back, I was just like, hey, you know, you see this hickey right here? And then I like look over at mom. I was like, Mom, it's like really fun. I could definitely show you how to do this on dad. It's the one and only Eagle Double G. I think my parents at that point, they were kind of defeated because they didn't really know what to say to me at that point. Like, what would you say? So yeah, that's the story of how I lose my V card. I'm sure it was very entertaining. If it wasn't, then I apologize for you losing however many minutes of your life listening to that story. But I'm gonna do my hair now. I'm going to create mermaid waves. Would I change anything about my V card experience? Yeah, I think communication is key. And one of the things that I didn't do was communicate throughout the entire experience. I didn't verbalize what I was feeling. I kind of just like lay there and was like, yep, my milkshakes are gonna bring the boys to the yard. On the topic of communication, and in light of recent events and rulings in the United States, I wanted to really quickly talk about contraception. And I wanted to highlight the importance of contraception, especially if you were a woman. There are various forms of contraception out there. The most obvious form is a condom. Just buy a box, you know, have it by your bed, just in case, you know, for emergency sexy time. But also do know that condoms aren't always 100%. And so alternative forms of, you know, contraception can be the pill, an IUD, or an implant. There are plenty of options out there in terms of contraception, and so don't shy away from them. Something that I used for I think about 3 years was birth control pills. And so I used the pill every morning. I would just take it because, you know, it's just easier for whenever I woke up because, you know, I wake up and it's like a routine. I got off the pill because I was an emotional wreck. I realized like the sort of like emotional toll that it was taking on me. What I use now is condoms. Yeah, there are plenty of options out there, and even if you do have an oopsie, plan B is a great option. A lot of the times it is expensive, so if you like go to like a CVS and buy it, I think it's like $50. I don't know what the price is now because it's been a while since I have had a plan B. You know, if you have like your local Planned Parenthood, a lot of the times they'll just give it out for free. You deserve to enjoy sex, and so please stay safe out there. So all of those options of birth control that I mentioned earlier are available. I'm doing my hair in the viewfinder right now and I'm like so scared of accidentally burning like a piece of my skin. The smell of cooked hair, delicious. One layer done. But yeah, another option is for guys to get vasectomies. And so if you're out there kind of like depressed because of like the recent rulings and all that stuff, I totally get you. But one of the things that you can do is to communicate with your sexual partner or partners or anyone who you plan to have sex with. Make sure that they're on the same page as you, because sex is, you know, an act between two people or multiple people that is consensual. It's an act that's supposed to make us feel good about ourselves. It's supposed to be something that's fun for everyone involved. And so the whole goal is to make you feel safe. And if you're ever in a situation where you feel like this person isn't looking out for you and your best interests and what you want in sex, whatever it is that you might be scared of, if you're fearful of it and they don't respect your boundaries, they don't deserve you. There are plenty of people out there who are willing to give you exactly what it is that you deserve, and they'd be thrilled to do it because you're a great person and you deserve to have great sex where you feel no shame, no repercussions, and you feel entirely safe. So protect yourself out there, kids. And by the way, before I did my hair, I put on like a little bit of hair oil to kind of protect my hair from the heat so that it doesn't look all frizzy and dried up and like fucked up and all that stuff. Okay, I finished my hair. I'm gonna go change now. Bye. Well, I'm gonna be right back, I should say. BRB. I'm changed, and here's my stupid little outfit that doesn't even really matter. But yeah, this is my final look. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to end the video actually right here because I said what I needed to say. But yes, if you watched all the way till the end, why don't you go ahead and leave a flower emoji down in the comments below. Any flower of your liking. If you feel like you need someone to talk to, the comment section is also an awesome place to do so. Subscribe for more girl talk because you know where to find me. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.